analytic tradecraft was changed after 9/11. What is the tool used to assess whether those changes were a good idea or very helpful or made a difference? Or, I mean, I don't, what's the assessment tool?
Well, so I think what they didn't necessarily change, they just became more explicit. I don't know if Carmen, you'd agree that in post 9/11 it was because the big innovation would be Intelligence Community Directive 203. And again, it's very bureaucratic, but it's these sort of 9 steps that you have to go through to understand or to be producing, you know, good analysis
I've
under the
seen it. It reads
definitions of
very much
203.
like an AP history rubric for an
Yeah,
essay.
yeah, and so then there's tradecraft analysis that's done by an office at ODNI, and they created the position of um, of ombuds, analytic ombuds, to sort of try to stamp out some of the political interference, and with varying levels of success over time. But the question is whether or not this has been effective. I mean, that
And
this
how
is
would you assess that?
this is
So
the
there
sort of
was, if I can jump in, there was an effort, and really the changes to analysis after 9/11 is probably at the heart of my career at the agency. Um, so there was an attempt to try to figure out if we were correct. So there was a team who came up with a rubric that identified an analytic prediction, or often we use the word a call, as that was an easy call, that was a medium call, or that was a really hard one. And then they would, uh, and this is very hard to do because the time frame is really elastic, really elastic. And then did we get it right? And then they had to sort of figure out what's the right time frame in which to assess did we get it right.
That's a big issue. Yeah.
That's a huge, huge issue.
Right.
And
Eventually,
so,
Cuba will fall.
yeah, yes, exactly. So they found, not surprisingly, that we were very good on the easy ones and very not good on the hard ones. And the point I made is the only reason why you have a multi-billion-dollar intelligence community is to be good on the hard ones, because the easy ones, you don't need a multi-billion-dollar intelligence community. It was like basically conventional wisdom that X or Y was going to happen. So, this question of what's the right way to get better at the really hard questions, that is, I don't think that has ever been, to my knowledge, Manoli, appropriately tackled by the intelligence community. I don't know that it's been appropriately tackled by anybody.
Well,
Manoli.
yeah, and this is one of the complications or the difficulties. I just saw it at NIU of doing empirical research on the intelligence community. You think it's difficult on the analytics side. Like
Oh
try
my God.
tackling counterintelligence,
Oh my
right?
God.
Um, or other aspects. There are actually some pockets of the community actually I think would do a really quite good job of assessing their performance and analyzing the way they operate, but I think it's frankly more on the collection side and sort of a broader operational side. But it's a hard thing to do. It's just the same as like writing performance evaluation objectives for analysts. A lot of places, I think there's been this goal of trying to move away from quantitative measures because quantitative measures, don't tell you very much on analysts, the quality of an analyst. Well, they don't tell you at all anything about the quality of an analyst's output. It's a hard thing to do. Everybody talks about like smart performance objectives. It's not easy to do them for analysts, and that's true at the organizational level, and that's true even going further up to at the community level. No, I don't think that there's been a great, so it's even like, the structured analytic techniques, right?
Yes.
What the empirical evidence on the utility. I think there is utility in organizing your thought, but whether or not they lead to better analysis is there was a Rand study, there was the Rob Johnston's from, but it's still
Yeah.
there's not a lot that's been done. But it's one of the challenges, and I don't say that to disregard the training that some of the organizations that focus on structural analytic techniques provide. I think it's valuable training and it's good for analysts to understand these concepts. Where I think there is promise is the potential for technology
Yes.
to make
Yes.
use of some of the
Yes.
concepts.
Yes. I
Uh,
agree.
but that's not going to necessarily help an analyst think better. So you have to marry both. You have to have the analyst doing the work of understanding the how their cognitive processes, but then you can also use the technology to operationalize some of the
Yeah.
models.
Well,
Yeah.
So
and you
this is
can ask the technology to help the analyst understand their cognitive. I mean, if we do it right, the technology can actually prompt some queries.
Yeah, and this is where I used to joke that, I'm not sure I believe this so much anymore, but I used to joke that the analyst of the future is going to be somewhere between a bookie and an actuary. Uh, that effectively setting, when what's the difference between an actuary and a bookie? Like a bookie gives themselves an extra 7%.
Yeah.
There's the VIG. The odds add up to 107, not to 100. Um, and how do you develop a probabilistic understanding of the future?
Service,
The
I've learned a lot about sort of the psychology of communications that, the person receiving that product isn't really attuned to the differences between likely and probably and may and whatever. And all of this hand wringing that we're doing on explaining those terms is basically meaningless to many customers. So it's kind of pointless.